Joining me now from St. Petersburg, Florida, political activist and host of the show Fleccas Talks, Austen Fletcher. It's great to see you. Thank you for joining me. Now, I bring you on to talk about this because you make a living being great at social media. You have a huge reach, so many followers. You've experienced censorship. How important is it that President Trump get this done?
It's very important because we've noticed, especially in the last few years, how much the argument has shifted. I know you remember a couple of years ago, there were a lot of conservatives that were saying, you know, it's a private company, they can do what they want. And then we see how quickly that switched from that point of view to the one we're at now, where we realize how much of the problems we're facing as a society, how much civil unrest there is underlined and formed by these tech companies kind of reinforcing this false narrative. So I think that people are really waking up to how big of a problem this is. And the timing, unfortunately, is kind of getting away from us. So we wish there was something done even sooner than it is right now.
Yeah, many years ago, something should have been done. And, you know, predictable, the left and people are saying, oh, Trump hates the military. This is why he's doing it. Vetoing the defense bill over Section 230. Is that a smart move?
It is kind of putting some people up against each other. We're really seeing the knives come out. Is it the right move? It's a dramatic move. It's maybe a step in the right direction. But I think we have to remember a bigger picture that this is a very unique issue. It's a very tough topic. It's not just a yes or a no. It shouldn't be a binary option. I think a lot of the way that these tech companies are treated needs to depend on how big they are. Because if we do apply these new criteria and have these new rules enforced, I think we'll have the Parlers, the Gabs, and the Rumbles kind of having a hard time compete with these new rules and regulations when a big company like Facebook or Twitter or YouTube, they can kind of handle it with their AI. So it is tricky because it's almost as if the new regulations would affect the competition for them in a good way for big tech. Because if you go and sue Parler, you could probably cover some ground and make some progress and maybe even affect the company. But if you sue Facebook or Twitter, they'll actually take you down and bleed you out in court with all the fees and stuff. So it's kind of a tough two-way street because a lot of the competitors that are rising up, if they had to face the same standards without the resources that the big tech companies have, it would almost make it impossible for them to compete too, or at least slow them down. Like imagine posting something and they need to verify it's true, and then it takes 10 minutes to post a post on Parler, when on Twitter they have the AI to kind of handle it and evaluate it in live time.
Yeah, stuck between a rock and a hard place, if you will. And that makes sense. And I've heard that argument is that if you do remove those protections, then again that would crush the competition because Facebook and Twitter and all of these other social media giants already made their money, so they're ahead of it all. Now, we were talking about the censorship in general, and I saw this article on USA Today. They say censorship or conspiracy theory. Trump supporters say Facebook and Twitter censor them, but conservatives still rule social media. Okay, so censorship clearly isn't a conspiracy theory. There's so many examples of it. I've covered a million examples on this show. It happens typically just to conservatives. You see how they censor the president. They say like everything he says is misinformation. They put those like weird little information boxes. Yet if you're a crazy dictator, you're fine. You can say whatever you want.
Yeah, exactly. I've seen it even with Ivanka's recent post. She posted about her father and how good of a grandfather he is, and posted a picture of her children with him. And underneath it says, Joe Biden's the projected winner, according to CNN, Fox, MSNBC. So, yeah, it absolutely it is very telling. It's very revealing kind of where the allegiance lies in big tech. Keep in mind, big tech and these platforms have been used all over the world to organize even like revolutions and uprisings and government overthrows. And that's why you see the relationship they have with China is very unique in that, only certain things are allowed to be said, or there's only certain versions of the platform that can exist in their country, because they do know how powerful big tech has gotten, and it is the free speech marketplace. But if they don't treat it that way, it really isn't what they were shooting at, going out to accomplish in the beginning. And I think the popularity that they say conservatives have, imagine how much more popular conservatives would be if they didn't face the same scrutiny that we're getting now with all the censorship and all of the limiting of ideas.
Yeah, I mean, this isn't such a hard topic. At the end of the day, if these social media giants just follow the rules, didn't act as publishers, then we'd be fine. But they're acting as publishers when they censor, and so that's why this is even a debate. We wouldn't even be here if they just followed the rules. And you see what they do to folks on, well, let's say, like YouTube, for example. They'll censor your speech because they'll demonetize you. So people who are making a living off of making videos now no longer can say what they want to say because YouTube oversees that.
Yeah, and there was a big change in the algorithm. Like I can notice even in my own analytics and my own data. When I first started, my video was always recommended in related videos. So if you watched a PragerU video or a Daily Wire video or an OAN video, the next thing would maybe be a Fleccas recommendation. They've gotten rid of that because apparently the Muppets think I'm not a reliable source. So instead, they'll start showing CNN or Joe Rogan, things that they think are more appropriate for people to consume. And it's like a little subtle thing, but then you notice my views started going down. Then my subscribers started going down. And then the CNNs and the mainstream media that they think are reliable, their subscribers and stats go up. So there's a lot of little levers that can be done, a lot of switches that can be flipped that seem very subtle, seem like it's done in honest, good faith, but in reality, it actually affects the way people consume things, and it creates a false reality. Like they're literally writing history as they see fit. And when you look back, if you don't make a change, you'll kind of see the articles and the news and think that the public was feeling a certain way, when in reality, it wasn't that way at all.
Yeah, and what bothers me is you'll see journalists, I'll put quotes on that, like Oliver Darcy from CNN, and he is urging social medias to even crack down on President Trump's tweets, saying that Trump's spreading misinformation. Obviously, I look at President Trump's tweets, and it's perfectly fine what he's been tweeting. He's the president of the United States, and we all have the right to see what he's tweeting, whether they like what he says or not. And so you see these folks in journalism who are all about free speech, and then all of a sudden, when they don't like the speech, they just want everyone censored except for themselves, of course. Well, we're going to leave it here. Thank you.
Thank you, Stephanie.